Action.
When all the corona lockdown things started, for me, I didn't believe till the end. I think for me, was it just a joke? It's like, come on, it's just something not real. It's not happening.
I think we're not 100% done with this disease, and I think there's new sources for diseases like this. The Black Plague, for example, was not a virus, but it was a bacteria.
Hi, my name is Pankova, and today I'm going to take you through a small journey. Something we have all been a part of, COVID. Yeah, we are going to talk about COVID again. What a disaster it was, and it continues to be one, and we all have our own experiences. Remember the first time when the world came under lockdown? I mean, in the beginning, it was like a great holiday, but then it went on and on and on. Some countries was trying to open slowly. Some countries opened up in 2 months, after 6 months or a whole year. Some are still trying to open completely, and the businesses went bust. And everyone became a YouTuber overnight. Many of us have fresh memories of that period. Good, bad, ugly, but fresh. We managed to speak to a few number of people from around the globe to understand their story. And we are close to 3 years now. Many of us feel differently now, but how did we all react to it when it began? We asked people all around the world about what did they think when the first lockdown happened in March 2020.
When they announced the lockdown in March 2020. It honestly did not seem like that big a deal to me then. Yes, I thought the situation was really dire, that something like that was required, that such a drastic measure had to be put in place. But I also thought that it was kind of every individual's responsibility to adhere to those rules, to try and do our bit, basically, to kind of curb the spread of this virus. So I thought it was essential, it was necessary. Of course, I didn't expect it to go on as long as it did, but at the time I remember thinking that this is required, like if it is to be enforced by law, because people aren't really thinking of it as something that's very serious, then it's...
When the first lockdown happened, I think everyone was so scared because people were dying and we were all at home, and it was really a hard time. But me myself, I think I was really scared also. I couldn't visit my grandma, my grandpa, any of my family members, and it was a hard time for us.
During March 2020, I was in 12th grade. During the first month, I didn't care about it that much, and after 2 months, it got pretty serious. My friend's family got infected with COVID-19. It was pretty scared. My mom was really worried, and it was a new experience for us to study through online and all. So it was a little complicated.
We first heard about the lockdown. Well, that was just a week after I had returned from New Zealand. The first thing that struck me was that I am safe back.
Before the lockdown started in March of 2020, I was watching all this news come out of China, out of Wuhan. The outbreak of this new virus, and people getting sick and people dying and hospitals overflowing and China quarantining entire cities. I mean, it was scary watching all this news. And soon the disease started spreading to other countries. Finally, it came to us here in the UAE. And I was scared. It was a major cause of concern. And the lockdowns were implemented here. We were all forced to stay at home. Kids were being schooled online. We couldn't go out. I mean, it was really stressful situation.
I had literally just finished my 12th grade at that time, like completely, with all the board exams and everything. 2 days after my last board exam, lockdown was announced. And thing was, I didn't even know about COVID. I literally didn't even understand the disease. I just thought it was like some Nipah or Ebola, and I thought it would last like those two. I mean, Nipah and Ebola was eradicated pretty quickly, so I thought it would be like that. I did not think that it would last for 2 years.
I was vaguely aware of coronavirus in early 2020, but it didn't hit home until March 13, 2020, when I was on the movie set. We were told to maintain distance. I'm not sure if we had to wear masks at that point. I think we did. But we did the film shoot on the 13th. But on the 14th, Netflix, for which the film was being produced, canceled production not only in Cleveland, where the shoot was taking place, but across the world.
मैं अपने फर्स्ट चाइल्ड के साथ प्रेग्नेंट थी और वो काफ़ी टफ टाइम था क्योंकि लॉकडाउन में मेरे बेबी ने बर्थ लिया था 15 मई 2020 को और आपका इतना ही टफ टाइम था कि मैं हॉस्पिटल से खुद नहीं जा सकती थी और विदाउट परमिशन आपके लिए परमिशन होना चाहिए देन आप जाओगे इवन रमज़ान चल रहा था ड्यूरिंग रमज़ान आप ग्रॉसरी के लिए नहीं जा सकते थे किसी मॉल में इंटर नहीं हो सकते थे किसी शॉप में आपको इंटर नहीं होने दिया जाता है बिकॉज आप प्रेगनेंट हो और वो बिल्कुल हमारी सेफ्टी के लिए था लेकिन फिर भी जैसे न्यूज़ में बहुत सी चीज़ें चल रही थी कि बहुत सी सिचुएशंस के बारे में बताए थे प्रिकॉशंस के बारे में बताए थे लेकिन उसके साथ साथ हमारे जो डेथ रेशियो इंक्रीज होता जा रहा था उसको भी बताया जा रहा था लेकिन वो अगर देखा जाए कि मोस्टली पीपल शायद कोविड की वजह से नहीं उनकी डेथ्स हुई उनकी डेथ्स शायद डर की वजह से ज़्यादा हुई.
During the first COVID, I was working in one of the reputed colleges in Telangana where the first case of COVID was admitted. Our HODs and professors, they used to wear this heavily built PPEs and they used to see the case and later there were so many cases pouring in and we all had to work round the clock, 24 hours, sometimes 36 hours straight. It was really horrible and for the first time in our life we were seeing something like that at that scale and the lockdown was declared. I never had like free time to even understand, to have that sink into me because either I was on duty or I was sick or I was in quarantine. I was staying away with my family alone. So during the first wave, I have treated some thousands of cases of COVID. And after that, I have been working in rural areas.
When March 2020 lockdown happened, I was like, this will pass by. Like any other flu or something like that. But I was clueless. I was not aware what going to happen. My life went upside down when my mom was diagnosed with cancer. I never thought in my life ever that I cannot be with my mom in such a difficult situation. I wanted to be with her. There were no flights. I cannot be with her. I cannot hug her tight. But thank God I have beautiful family. I have loving brother. I have loving sister-in-law who were the pillar of my family, who were supportive, who were taking care of my mom. But for me, I was going through the bad phase of my life. I don't want to remember 2020 lockdown. Never.
When lockdown first happened back in 2020 in March, initially everyone was taken by shock, including myself. At the time, we all had our exams and school was still on. Everything was normal. And suddenly, out of the blue, this happened. It was completely unexpected to any one of us because school and all of our exams were cancelled over this one virus. And to us at the time, it just seemed like normal fever because we didn't realize the intensity of the situation. Everyone was stupendously happy. I mean, our exams were cancelled. School was shut for over a month. It was surreal. It was like every boy's dream. But at the time, I don't think any one of us could have predicted what could have happened later.
When the first lockdown happened, thought that it will get over soon, but then it was not as expected.
The first time I heard about coronavirus was in the year 2020, in the month of March, when I was newly wedded, and I was away from my husband since he was working in a different country. But at that moment, I was like any other couple would be upset. But I'm glad now that we were away from each other for a long time, that we were safe. Because so many of us, we have lost our own. There were many newly wedded couples who lost each other right the next day of the marriage or in a few days of marriage due to corona, which was just, and especially at that moment that people had not, like doctors, anyone, they had not figured out what was it that was so dangerous, that was killing people without any warning, without any signs. It was like some alien, some invisible monster had attacked our planet Earth, had attacked human species. It was a curse for our planet Earth. It was a curse on human beings. We lost so many people. It was a gloomy year of our lives.
Honestly, when the lockdown happened in March 2020, I was so scared. At first, I wasn't scared because I thought maybe it's something that would happen for just a few days. Then I remember when we went to work that day, we were sent back home. Now, back home, we were not getting paid. We had no salary, no money. We had to pay rent during that period. It was very difficult. Things became expensive. Now, with that frustration, thinking of traveling back to our country, everything was locked down. The airport was closed. I mean, I thought the world was coming to an end. I thought God, I thought God was shutting down the world. I was so scared.
March 2020 lockdown announced, and the first thing that came to my mind was it absolutely necessary? And it was already our vacation time, and I didn't think too much when at the initial stage, because I thought it would last for about 4 weeks, 2 weeks. No, I didn't thought it would be this long, and our lives will change this much. And the first thing that came to my mind was how will we get all the necessary items like groceries. And my parents were also panicking. And how about the people who are running small businesses?
Many of us got COVID too. Even I got it. Many got it twice. Many got it even thrice. Damn it. Many got it even after 3 doses of vaccine as well. But when you had COVID for the first time in those early days, what did you think? The new channels going all over China totally not helping. Let's see what people think.
Vaccinations. So that's why I think it's a lot better than how it was before. But we still should be very careful because it is a virus. And I know a lot of people who died from COVID. And just stay safe, guys.
Based on what I was seeing on the news, I really believe that if I got COVID, I would be in a hospital on a ventilator. I wouldn't be able to breathe, and I could possibly die. I mean, it was scary.
It's like, come on, it's just something not real, it's not happening. And to be honest, until the end, I was taking it mostly as a flu. Daily I was taking garlic, ginger, lemon, and turmeric, and I was fine. And alhamdulillah, I have not been sick of corona. And until today, I am not vaccinated. And until today, it didn't catch me, thanks God. I believe it was just, if we're gonna think really more deeper, going back into 15th, 16th, 17th centuries, it's sad to say, but when humanity has to go in the new era, in the new level, people who are not ready, who are not awakened, they can't reach there.
Yeah, the next thing that came up was about being vaccinated, and that's something I didn't want to. And with the news that COVID was spreading fast all over the world, that wasn't something that we could easily take in. And with all sorts of forwards through social media, through any news channel, wherever it was everywhere. And the fact that just around that time when we heard that it's spreading in New Zealand as well, and to know that our son was having a cold, he took it very well. He was very brave, but he gave me some sleepless nights. I don't think I was ever so scared. This is something that really scared me.
मुझे भी कोविड हुआ है रिसेंटली, लाइक 2022 फरवरी में, पर मैंने उसके बाद वैक्सीनेशन भी लिया हुआ, लेकिन उससे ऐसा कोई इतना कोई खास सिम्टम्स भी नहीं थे, ना इतना कुछ प्रॉब्लम हुआ था, बिकॉज हम सबका वो जो डर था कोविड का वो ख़त्म हो चुका है काफ़ी हद तक। हम में से कोई भी इतना डरता नहीं है कोविड से कि कोविड है, कुछ हो जाएगा, ये है वो है, और अब तो इवन बच्चों में भी कोविड, बच्चों को भी हो रहा है, तो इट्स ओके, अब आप सर्वाइव।
When I got COVID in 2021, it was expected. It was at a party. It was New Year's party. All of my friends got it as well. So when I first got it, I felt more than prepared because everyone had shared their experience since then. It had been around 8 or 9 months since the start of the pandemic. So I would expect fever and like my body being quite weak, and it was exactly that. It wasn't as bad as I expected it to be, but I'm thankful for that.
Yes, I got COVID positive last year, and I was sitting in the office. All of a sudden, when I got the message that I am positive, I remember everyone running away from me. They just disappeared far away from me, and I felt so bad. I started crying. I felt like I'm the only culprit. What have I done? What wrong have I done? But you know that feeling when everyone just leave you. I mean, when you're sick, you think people will console you, they'll take care of you, but here, no, I have to leave the office. I went home alone, taking a cab, and I was crying all alone, like, what kind of situation is this, and what the world is becoming. Like, when you're sick, no one is touching you, no one is consoling you. In fact, you're going home alone in a taxi. And yes, I'm claustrophobic. So the biggest fear was isolating myself in a room for 10-14 days. But I was all the time with my family on phone, and they were very supportive. My father gave me tips like how can I recover fast from COVID. Yes, although I cannot go and touch the things in the kitchen or something because I was isolated in one separate room. I was very careful that I don't spread germs, and looking at the news, looking like what was happening, the video clip, the dangerous video clips and everything, I was so scared that I got panic attack 1 or 2 times, and I called the ambulance. They checked my oxygen level, everything. They said everything is fine. Yes, this do happen when you don't watch any kind of news. This do happen when you think too much. Just be positive. Everything is fine. This is just like a small flu, and it will go away. Now I think, yes, I have got the experience, and anyone who is getting positive in my house, I am the one who's sharing the tips, like how do you recover, everything about it.
Thankfully, I didn't get infected by COVID-19, even my parents and my siblings. If I had, I would be pretty scared because I really don't like getting fever or a slight cold. So I would be really sad.
COVID was a big ride, a huge ride. For me personally, I think it did a good deed, but for a lot of others, it did not. Many people died. So, yeah. I think we all handled it pretty well. we could have handled it better if people really understood the whole meaning of lockdown, but then still we did pretty well.
And captured streets that were almost completely empty. We were on a tube, a railway, a subway car, and we were the only people in the car, and we filmed right in that moving railway subway car. So it actually presented opportunities that I wouldn't have had as a filmmaker under any other circumstances. I never really got COVID, at least as far as I know. I may have had a bad cold in February, and it may have been COVID. My wife doesn't think it was COVID. But after COVID hit home, not really aware of getting COVID, but I did get all of the COVID shots. I got the Pfizer shots and all of the booster shots. So I took it seriously. I knew it was a serious disease. I knew it could strike. I had friends who had lost their father, another friend who lost someone else very close to them in the family.
When I got affected, it was such a pathetic situation that there were 67 patients under me, and I had to treat them every day. I have to see them, go for the rounds. I had this cannula on my hand. I used to get the remdesivir injection myself, and I used to go for the rounds. So second wave was horrible, and I have seen people dying, so many people dying. And when I was driving through the hospital, like from the hospital to the another hospital, there was a funeral house where the bodies were burning every day. It was like everyday scene for me, and it was so depressing. And I was like, is this any end for this? And then the vaccine came out. I was even affected during the third wave, which was not properly, like it's not peaked at all wave. But the few cases were seen in January 22 this year. Even I was affected at the same time, but the severity was really low. And even now we see COVID cases, but they were like really mild because most of them are vaccinated.
Yes, I got COVID on 2021 September first week. Just after the autumn, and I thought I got COVID from all the celebration and all the crowded place I went for buying unnecessary groceries and flowers, I think. And the time I had that second wave starting, and I had the difficulties and the things I saw on the news. I didn't experience many such things. That I was provided with all the vitamin tablets and reasonable care for my symptoms, but still I didn't think it was that severe.
Getting COVID initially, from what it was heard in the news, it was a nightmare, as none was aware, like many of us was not aware, like what was COVID, or the treatments, or the solutions, and the fatality rate that it caused. Watching the news was much higher.
We were taking precautions. We people who have lost their family members, there were some who did say that we were taking all the precautions, but we do not know how it happened. And it was a mess. It was a chaotic for all of us, and it was really sad. Even doctors took a lot of time, government took a lot of time, scientists took a lot of time to figure out what it was and to get to the vaccination. That was really good for people, because initially there were a lot of people who were also not having the positive effect of the vaccination because corona had already destroyed their immune system, and people who did survive coronavirus, they're still struggling. They're struggling with their breathing. They're struggling with building up their immune system the way it was stronger before getting attacked by or infected by coronavirus.
Today, world is slightly at a better place with close to 3 years fight with COVID. Most of us are vaccinated twice, have been affected with COVID many times. After endless RT-PCR tests slowly work has eased out to normal. You can now walk into a movie theater fully packed like all days. But now, when you think about how did I handle this for the whole 2 years, we panicked. Of course we panicked. I mean, people were stuck in toilet papers, but world was going to apocalypse.
Looking back at all this, I think the COVID situation was bad. I mean, I personally know people who got COVID, they got sick, and they recovered. And I know of at least one lady who died from COVID. She was my neighbor, a young lady in her 30s. She got COVID one day, the next day she died. So I think the situation was bad, but not as bad as the media made it out to be. I mean, they were claiming the disease would spread and half the population of the world would die. And yeah, it looked worse on TV than it was in real life.
I definitely don't think we're done with COVID. I just think people now know the medicines they can take, the cure, the vaccinations. There's vaccinations now, but we still need to be careful because it's still a virus and it can still kill people. But I just think that cases have decreased.
After 2 years, I think the COVID situation right now in India is fine. Like, it's gradually decreasing. People are stopping, like, not wearing masks. It's pretty normal right now, hopefully. The 2 years was very thrilling. We didn't have school. It was fun, actually. It's little hard to be staying at home. Actually, we all handled it pretty well, my family and my friends, I guess.
Based on what I saw in the news, the first week, I thought we would die. But then, my parents worked in the same field, so they were like, we won't die. We will, only people with severe conditions like asthma and stuff like that would die. So I was pretty confident.
Forwards, we will see with regards to the symptoms of COVID was literally scary. Anyone with the slightest symptom of cold, cough, fever literally scared us. Despite all the initial fears, the pressures from all around of having to be waxed, both my husband and myself had decided to stay away from it, and we are glad that we can see that we overcame all of that and we did not get waxed.
जिस खुश रहो और बहुत अच्छे से रहो और ऐसा कोई किसी किस्म में लाइफ में ना ही कोविड या किसी भी सिचुएशन में आपको डरने की जरूरत है. सबसे ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है कि आप अपना डर को ख़त्म कीजिए. अगर आपका डर ख़त्म हो जाए तो डेफिनेटली आप सर्वाइव कर सकते हैं, वो चाहे वो कोई भी सिचुएशन.
I must say that the vaccine is definitely giving protection, and now I can say that I don't have that fear of what I had during the second wave. So I think not 100%, but 80 to 90% we are out of COVID, and even if people get affected, that will be like a common flu. So this is what my experience about COVID.
When I look back 2 years ago, I still remember the situation where everyone was scared to touch anyone when whoever gets COVID or whose family is struggling through. They were all scared to touch them or to take them to the hospital. Even the friends and family were not able to assist them. I mean, they were not doing it purposely, but yes, it was COVID and it was spreading so fast. I would really like to thank the frontliners, the doctors, the policemen, the officers, the security, the cleaners, everyone, because without them this was not at all possible. The entire nation was really struggling and they were like a god. They were like a god and they helped us out to be in such a beautiful place today. We are all blessed and safe.
Also, yeah, after 2 years, definitely we can say that, yeah, we were able to fight it. fight against it by proper sanitizations, social distancing, wearing masks. But then can't say that the the COVID scenarios are not yet done. We have to be much careful.
Through those 2 years during the pandemic, I think all of us handled it brilliantly. No one in their right mind was fully prepared to tackle this pandemic, yet all of us stuck together to fight it. And we have, which is why I think, finally in 2022, we have gotten past the point where it's much of a worry. I don't think we'll be seeing the likes of COVID itself returning anytime soon.
During all this chaos, I thought these social distancing, masks, sanitizers will be a part of our life forever from now. And I don't think that happened. We are living quite normal lives afterwards.
I don't think the COVID situation is over yet. I think it will continue to mutate and to grow. It may not be quite as bad as it was before. I have heard, and I don't trust me on this, but I have heard that under the mutation conditions that it may be getting a little less worse than it was initially. That people will have a more of an immunity to the variations, so that it won't strike quite as badly. But
For now, people have forgotten coronavirus because everything has come to ease. There was a lot of economic loss for all the countries, so they are just pulling it up. But still, there are some people who are still taking precautions, and some of them have just started to get on with their life, because not everyone can take a lot of precautions because of the jobs they do and the basic survival that they need. They just can't focus on that precautions, and I feel really sad. It's like that virus did not do any partiality with anyone. The virus was dangerous for everyone. It was attacking everyone, but still, when a family was struggling, was financially not stable, it was really difficult for them. And even in the hospitals were not built, there were not many doctors. Nurses were trying their best. Nurses died. Doctors have died because of it. It was really bad. And I pray to God that we should never face such situation ever, and we should keep taking our precaution. We should stay clean. We should make sure we wash our hands and wash ourselves after we come from outside, and wear our mask. It's a good thing to wear mask. I know it is really suffocating at some time, but it's good that we keep taking precautions, and that we move forward, and let's pray that we don't ever have to face such situation. It was really sad. It was scary. It was bad. I do not know. I'm not getting the right adjective right now to describe this whole situation, but it was really, really bad for all of us, and especially for poor people. They just couldn't. I mean, so many of them did not even know they must have had coronavirus, and they must have just, they must have just lost their lives, and nobody was we could also see so much of inhumanity during that time, because people were so worried about going and meeting someone who was affected by coronavirus. They were just worried about themselves, because you have to be worried about themselves, but they were so inhuman. They were not talking. They would keep them alone, and we have watched news. We have seen how people were treated in many places just because they were affected by coronavirus, or maybe they were assumed that they were affected by coronavirus because they might be having cold, cough, or they might be having fever. They were just, so many people were judged even by the racism. So humanity took really an ugly turn during coronavirus, it was really pathetic to see such thing. And I just hope that we as a human being, we should, we as a, humans of this planet, we should never face such unknown and unpredictable situation ever, because it can really ruin your self-esteem, your self-confidence, your relationships, so many people are still depressed about it, because apart from being affected, they were really affected by the relationships that they had, because nobody was just getting along, because they were just treated indifferently because they were affected. And but people are still careless. We can see that. It's good that it's the best thing we can do, to take care, to keep ourselves, to keep our hygiene clean, to keep our environment clean, and not to just neglect it, and just to be careful when we have fever or when we are sick, but to be careful and clean all the time.
It was great when you finally meet your family and friends. Everyone you love who you haven't met for 2 years. People have started traveling again. Well, some brave souls started traveling again as early as 21st January. Brave of them. But yeah, traveling industry has slightly got a boom now in the recent past. Cases are still being reported, but I guess we all know the drill, and we are more educated and informed about it right now. But is it over yet, or does pneumonia go on it forever?
Honestly, I really don't know if the COVID era is finished. It's not 100%, but pretty sure nothing bad is gonna come. But we don't know. It's the future, right? New variants might come, even deadlier disease. Hopefully, the COVID era is finished. I think it's over, mostly. My guts.
Well, the COVID virus isn't extinct. So, I think the chaos isn't over yet. But I don't think it'll get to the level that it was 2 years back.
I hope we're done with this COVID chaos. I do not want it to last. I do not want it to affect my college life anymore. So I hope it is done. I really hope.
If you ask me if we are done with this COVID chaos, I will say no, not yet. Because still there are numbers increasing every day and people have to be very careful. I myself am very careful because I have my sister's baby in my house here. So I don't want the baby, because the baby's immunity is very low. And at least for the sake of your loved one, for the sake of your family, we have to be very careful and very responsible citizens. Thank you.
I don't think we are done with this COVID-19 virus, even though we took that 2 or 3 doses of vaccines, because still we are, I think, for me, I'm more prone to viral fevers and all. I think I have lost some sort of immunity after I got COVID, because now I'm feeling sick very faster when the climate temperature changes and all. I have or many people I have heard that are suffering from what I am suffering now, and I don't think we are done with this, even though we took all these precautions measures.
Deadly disease. I don't think the COVID situation is over yet. I think it will continue to mutate and to grow. It may not be quite as bad as it was before. I have heard, and don't trust me on this, but I have heard that under the mutation conditions that it may be getting a little less worse than it was initially. That people will have a more of an immunity to the variations, so that it won't strike quite as badly. But I think we're not 100% done with this disease, and I think there's new sources for diseases like this, the black Plague, for example, was not a virus, but it was a bacteria, and it wiped out a huge segment of European population. I think we could face something similar, something that would hit so fast and so terrifyingly that our health system wouldn't have time to cope and react, to develop the antibodies and the vaccines that we have now. So I think there's more to come. I think we should take diseases like this very seriously.
I hope you enjoyed this compilation of people testimonials. So please support our channel and we'll get back to you more stories like this. Like, subscribe, and support. Fan out.